Hi, everyone. I'm going to try to make a case for solar communities in Puerto Rico. This is the sunny Caribbean. Puerto Rico is on this map. And as you know, this is the route, the hurricane route. This is where the hurricanes come into Americas, right? And Puerto Rico, as you see, is the smaller of the major Antilles and the larger of the minor Antilles. And it's a continent of islands. And so you've seen this before. Just want to point out that there's a central mountain range that divides the south and the north. And it's a pretty formidable obstacle to energy transmission. And as we said earlier today, the big power plants are in southern Puerto Rico, especially southeast. And the transmission lines have to overcome that mountain range. So you saw what happened with Hurricane Maria. Estimated 80% of the transmission and distribution systems were down. That is equivalent of about 50,000 poles, et cetera. You can read the whole, the details. We're known as Generator Island, and we've had problems with the fumes, the high noise levels, all of the negative impacts of that kind of generation. And there's been immense human suffering, right, as a result of the hurricane and how it left us without a grid, basically. So hopefully the lessons learned from Hurricane Maria is that, as we noted, Puerto Rico is part of the Caribbean, which sounds different. It sounds strange that I should say that, but Puerto Rico, since it's a territory of the United States, often identifies more with the continent than with its own context, right? And so we found that these vertical poles and cables don't hold up very well. And we found that solar does hold up better, and that communities need to participate in electric power generation, because if not, they will be without power for a long time, again. And that also we found that the business behind this big grid that we have leads to what has been termed the iron triangle, which is often there's these big government agencies, contractors, and politicians that create schemes such as the Whitefish Energy contract. There were others. There's Cobra. Even the GE contract was very suspect. So this is why we say that solar held up better. This is in Salinas. And although what we're promoting is rooftop solar, you can see that the facilities, this is after Hurricane Maria, that's the central mountain range, or well, it's really the eastern part, Sierra de Calle. But that's what needs to be traversed if we're going to, do the same build back kind of system. So actually, I don't know if you can see it that well. This is my picture. Sorry about that. But this is, well, you can see this. This is a tower, right? That helicopter is carrying a tower to place in difficult terrain. And actually, PREPA, the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, pioneered this kind of installation, right? Puerto Rico is the showcase for the Caribbean and even Latin America, the relationship that a country could have or a jurisdiction could have to the U.S. and, and shine, right? And so that was one of the things that Puerto Rico accomplished, placing this transmission grid under very difficult circumstances and terrain. And so our alternative now, coming up to current times, we know that there are alternatives. We don't have to do it that way again. But we do certainly need to work and make alliances with community groups, academia, and institutes specialized on the topic to build capacity among communities to achieve energy literacy, right? Take all of these steps, such as evaluate the available resources, local financing, such as co-ops, which are really known as credit unions, bring together support from the foundations, academia, civil society, even labor. We are working with the biggest union of the PREPA. And we are just starting with a PV system at the community center to serve as a starting point for a solar community and microgrid, including storage. And the ultimate goal is to achieve energy democracy. And as we mentioned, only 2% of Puerto Rico's energy generation comes from renewables. And the reason why we talk about rooftop solar is that this is a sort of a common scene in Puerto Rico. This was not during a hurricane. It's strong rains. And so those homes that you see are called Levitt-type homes, which we have all over Puerto Rico, sprawling, developments that have cement roofs, but many times they're in flood-prone areas, and that's a problem. But the roofs are good, and so this is the current energy mix. The bunker C residual oil is the real dirty stuff. Is my time up? Oh my God. Okay, and then lots of people talk about doing a transition with natural gas, but the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis that we work with tell us that the transition would eat up all of the resources we would need to do, this other new system that we're proposing. And so what we've seen with the mix that we have now is this kind of thing. AES, coal power plant, the stuff all around that little boy is coal combustion waste. And it's highly toxic. It has all of the heavy toxic metals you can imagine. And it was used, they cannot do that anymore, but it was used as fill material at construction sites. And so I guess this is the primary reason why we should convert and transform to another energy system. Thank you.